So, one of the ways that we structure ourselves, one of the ways that we create the self begins at shortly after birth. There's a psychologist, Margaret Mahler, who put forth a theory called the dual unity. And even though there's some other theories, I have found this particular one to be on point in terms of my own experience and practice, and then working with students. And so I present it in that way. Again, I'm not trained in psychology. This is all from self-study. And I spent a number of years, 15 years in the Diamond Approach, which is a system, a modern non-dual system of applying psychology with spirituality. But in the dual unity, the infant has the sense that everything is oneness, even though there is a duality, meaning the baby is fed from the outside, not from the inside. But nonetheless, the baby feels everything as an indivisible wholeness. And I remember holding my grandchildren in particular when they were first born and feeling we would go into the dual unity, be in the unity together. I could feel the fact they had no boundaries of any kind. They didn't even understand they weren't the same as me. So we survive in this way. And this is a time when we're intimate with presence, the presence of the absolute. I'd say maybe a quarter or a third of my students remember a time when they were in contact with presence as infants or toddlers. Others don't remember, but a large enough percentage do, that I think this is a worthwhile conceptual framing. And so what happens as the baby grows, the toddler grows, is we begin to recognize that discomfort, dissatisfactoriness, and suffering, what we call dukkha in Buddhism, is all contained within. I'm hungry in here. I need to be changed. This body needs to be changed or held or loved or taken care of in some way. And the answer to that need comes always from the outside. I don't produce my own food. I can't dress myself. I can't give myself love. So there's a split that begins where the discomfort is on the inside, dukkha is on the inside, and salvation's on the outside. And so at some point, that toddler begins to realize, for my survival, I need to make sure that these big beings who bring me food and comfort keep bringing me food and comfort. And on some level, we can't stay with the presence. We have to turn away and commit fully to this birth family, these caregivers, this society, in order to live, to survive. Our survival depends upon our turning away from the absolute. And so at some point, we all do that. We turn and embrace the family to whatever extent we can, and we land fully in society and then begin to structure the self. For most people, in the turn away from presence, ironically, the human takes the turn away as a rejection by presence. We don't get that we're the ones that turn away and choose the birth family or the caregivers. We feel that presence threw us out. Like in the Bible, the Adam and Eve are thrown out of the Garden of Eden. In the same way, we feel we've been thrown out of the Garden of Evil, we feel we've been thrown out and of presence. And we take it that there's something in us that warranted that action. So something is flawed in me, something is broken, something is not right. And that begins a psychological phenomenon that's called the core egoic deficiency. And this is that piece, that place deep in each of us that says, I'm not good enough. I'm not worth much. I'm a failure. I'm worthless. I'm hopeless, helpless. I'm bad. I'm unlovable. Fill in the blank for whatever your story is. And then on top of that core deficiency, we structure our personality. We structure our behavior to keep ourselves and everyone else looking over here so they're not looking at this core wounding. Because if they see the core wounding, they're not going to want to be with me. They're going to be saying, nope, something's wrong with you. Presence was correct, and I want to get away from you too. So we want to hide this sense of deficiency from ourselves and others. And again, most of us do it through the assertion of the personality. We find ways to show that we are lovable, we are should be included. And part of what keeps us out of contact with the absolute is the fact that we align ourselves with the conceptual truth of time. We take the past and the future to be real, when in reality, in the absolute, only now is real. There is no other time frame in the absolute. There's no past, there's no present. Everything is happening in this moment. I call it sometimes the eternal now. That's where everything is unfolding right now. And most of us keep a lot of our awareness in the past and future. The brain study folks have tested and decided that the majority of us spend about 90% of our awareness we invested in the past and in the future. And in the past, most of us spend time on regret and remorse. I should have taken that job. I should have moved to that location. I should have dated that person. I should have done something different. It would have made my life better today. And then in the future, the majority of folks spend time planning. If they plan for what's going to happen, they can minimize negativity or unpleasant experiences. And so we're trying to manage our life by going back and forth between the future and the past. In the studies they've done of thoughts, they find that the modern thinker in an industrialized country has something like 35,000 thoughts a day, some large number. And of those, about 80 to 90% are repetitive thoughts, meaning we thought them yesterday and the day before. So most of us in the modern world have only about 10 or 20% of our thoughts are relative to what we're doing today. Most are not, they're just repetitive thoughts. And by contrast, the cultures they've tested who are not industrialized, who are still in a more formative stage, have something like 800 to 900 thoughts a day. And virtually all of their thoughts relate to what they're doing. So in the present moment, what they need to attend to. They don't spend a lot of time in the past or future. So really interesting that with industrialization, with modernization, we ended up becoming more lost from being in this moment.